But let's talk about the first segment this week, which is going to be our top five segment. And this segment, again, the way I picked this week's topics and segments and things like that was based on the special guest and what they liked. So we're gonna go through with this anyway, even though it was specially picked for him. And so our top five this week is the top five places that each of us have visited. And what we mean by top five always is just an opinionated favorite list for us. This doesn't mean that number one is better than number five. It just means that
Mhm.
it was our more favorite of those two. I hope that makes
Mhm.
sense. So I will start first. And my fifth favorite place was Cocoa Beach, Florida. Um, Down there near Cape Canaveral, where the space shuttles launch as well.
Mhm.
I used to be um, stationed in Orlando, and
Nice.
I don't remember though how we ended up in Cocoa Beach because Orlando was boot camp, so I wasn't really allowed to leave. Hmm. So I
You probably got
must.
in some trouble.
You know what? I Now that I think about it, we actually drove. This is when I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and now I remember that we actually drove from there all the way to Florida one weekend. Yeah, and that's how we ended up in Cocoa Beach. I remember it now, and the beaches there are just so incredibly soft and beautiful, and
Yeah.
the water is super warm. When you grow up in Massachusetts, the ocean is not warm there ever. So
Nope.
like even in July and August when it's sometimes really hot, the water never catches up.
Right.
So what's your number five? Places Katie Lynn has visited.
So, believe it or not, there's not that many places that I have been. Um, I've been to like the same places a lot.
Okay.
But anyway, my number five would be Gulf Shores, Alabama, just because the beaches are just gorgeous. I love it. I like the muted, ugly grays. I'm sorry, I'm a little depressive emo kid, but I just loved it. Like the sand was, I don't even remember what time of year it was, but it wasn't chilly, but it was just a great time. It just made me feel like, I don't know, it just gave me this certain feeling, and that time in my life was a lot of fun.
Man,
So
the Gulf
I
in
look back on that
general is
fondly.
really, really cool. I've been to the Gulf in Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama, and all of them. I've been to all of them.
Mhm.
So, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. I have seen the Gulf of Mexico from all of those states.
Dang, look
That's
at you
pretty dang
go.
cool. Yeah, that is pretty cool, isn't it? We got Fubar coming in the Twitch chat. His top five are San Antonio, Pensacola, Florida, Yellowstone, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Ann Arbor, Michigan. Very good list. Love
Nice.
that.
That was
Yeah.
a cool list.
Number
Cool
four
guy.
for me, moving on, is New Orleans, Louisiana. Again, military. I was stationed in Meridian, Mississippi, and one weekend a month, we would get paid every other weekend in the military. But one weekend a month, we would all pool our money, and we would either hire a taxi or we would rent like this long Econoline van, and just all of us go down to New Orleans for the weekend. And
Love it.
I got to tell you, probably 92% of the time I've been in New Orleans, I don't remember it from a bad level of inebriation. But
I want to go really bad.
the times I do remember, it was fabulous, man. I really, really liked it there a lot. It's just a completely different culture in downtown New Orleans than anywhere I've ever
Right.
been otherwise. What's number four for you, Katie?
Number four for me, I have Franklin, Tennessee. I just love little Franklin. I think it's a cool little place. It's not, it's kind of little, but it's just a really cool area. That's where my homie Doug Allen lives. So I've been around there quite a bit. But they have a lot of cool stuff downtown. It's really historic. Tennessee is really historic in general, but um, it's just really cool there, and it feels like another home away from home, but cooler in a way.
And
I've spent a lot of time there.
Franklin is a southern suburb of Nashville, and I've been to Franklin as well. In fact, when I went to Nashville for the first time ever in 2000 or 1999, that's where our motel was in Franklin. And I remember because we were right across the street from the Mandrell sisters restaurant
Yep.
that was in Franklin. So a lot of the Nashville country stars, at least back when I visited there, all had houses south of Nashville, and so
Yeah.
a lot of them were in Franklin. Trying to think who it was. The Judds had an
Yeah.
office in Franklin.
Hmm.
I remember driving by that. Very good answer. I like that. Franklin, Tennessee. Very cool. Number
Yeah.
three for me is another beach. I noticed that out of my top five, four of them are on the ocean, and number three is Virginia Beach, Virginia. When I was stationed in Norfolk, we spent a lot of time on Virginia Beach. I loved it there because you could drive your car right up onto the beach and literally just park where you're gonna put your towel and go out and swim and fraternize or whatever. And I had a pet ferret at the time,
Oh, I want one.
and I was probably 19 or 20 years old. Man, that ferret got me a lot of ladies. Let me tell you what.
I'm looking at pictures. It looks really pretty. I'd like to go everywhere in the United States and everywhere on the planet to an extent.
Yeah, good luck
Um,
with that. What's your number
no,
three
yeah.
here?
My number three.
Yeah.
So that is going to be Buffalo, New York. I
Hmm.
love Buffalo. Only because I got to see the U.S. side of Niagara Falls. I forgot my passport at the hotel, so we didn't get to go see the actual pretty side.
Of course you did.
And we drove like an hour and a half. So, but it was still really awesome to see. We were staying in Buffalo, and it was just really cool. It wasn't. I love the city, and I love like the attractions and stuff, like every good tourist does. But it just the hills and everything over there, all the trees and everything. It just feels like I don't know. It's hard, especially like in New York. Like I didn't expect that, and I didn't know where the hell we were going anyway to begin with.
Well, that's
I went
because
up
a
there
lot of
to
people, when you think of New York, they think of the city,
New York
and
City. Yeah,
yeah, and the entire state looks nothing like the city. Like,
yeah.
I mean, really, the southeastern portion of New York is all urban. It's not just New York City, but you know, there's all of the bigger cities too that surround New York City. But once you get up out of that corridor, the rest of the state is all farmland and hills and
I know.
mountains and forests and
Beautiful.
yeah. New York State is really, really awesome. Now, I've driven through Buffalo. I've never been to Niagara. I've driven through Buffalo probably three or four times because
Hmm.
we would sometimes when we would drive between Massachusetts and Texas, we would
Hmm.
kind of go that way, so we would miss all of the northeastern cities like Baltimore and Philly and
Right.
all of that. So we would go through there sometimes, but never stopped. Unfortunately, I'd love to see Niagara. Let's
It's pretty
see.
cool.
We are on number two. I want to make sure I don't skip any because I did last week on the cartoons. Number two for me is Plymouth, Massachusetts. Now, I was fortunate in that I grew up like less than a 20 minutes drive from Plymouth. And as a kid, you never realize how much history is around you until you leave that area. And then, you know, you look back and you're like, wow, we really had it cool. Like just
Hmm.
inner city Boston, all through the South Shore, but mainly Plymouth is just chock full of cool things to look at and hang out at and all of that. And anytime I go back home, that's one of the first places I go to visit. Just it's just such a cool place to kind of get yourself grounded and find your inner zen, so to speak. But
Hmm.
that is my number two, Plymouth, Massachusetts. Also on the water, all of these except for my number one. My number one is not actually on the water. What's your number two, Katie?
So I just remembered. I had wrote two for number two because I couldn't decide, but I'm gonna decide. I had New York, New York written down, but I'm a bigger LA girl, so I spent a lot more time out there.
Yep.
During AGT. I got to see a lot of really pretty places. Like we went to Pasadena first and Burbank, all that. So it was all really cool. But man, just being right there on Hollywood Boulevard, like we stayed at the Lowe's Hotel right there, it's just a whole nother world, and it's so badass. It's so super cool.
It was really fun living those days of your life through your eyes through social media too. Just watching
Yeah.
all the cool things that you guys did over there. I remember when you guys were shopping at a mall there, and there was escalators everywhere, and just
Yep.
I remember your mom had was filming live during that time, and it must have been your first time seeing an escalator because you were tripping the f out. It was
I
so
was like,
funny.
what is happening?
And so
The only
in
time
this
I
live
ever
video,
seen an
I literally
escalator.
watched her go up and down these escalators like 4 times. I don't know if you remember that.
I also remember seeing Puff the Magic Dragon. You remember that?
I do. Yep.
And that was on live too, I think.
What were you in New York City for? That was a different show later on, right?
Yeah, that was I think in 2018. I went and did a couple episodes on Futurama, so that
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, I thought so.
Um, yeah, and we stayed down like right on Times Square just about, and we went to go see where the Twin Towers were. It was super cool. We tried to walk to the Statue of Liberty, and it was like in the middle of summer, and it's not as bad as Texas, but I almost passed out. So we were like, okay, we're getting on in a cab and going go back to the hotel. So
Man,
we
I'll
never
tell
got
you
to
what,
actually see
you had just like the coolest childhood. Like looking back, you
for
have to
sure.
realize that, right?
No, I know. We when I saw the topic, the top 5 places you visited, I was just sat down. I was like, oh my god, hold on. And then cause like that was so long ago, too. So that's that,
So I'd
been
just
there.
like to point out that we both live in Texas and we have our top four. Both of us right now have listed our top four, and we have not picked a single place in Texas. I just would like to show that out. My number one is a place that nobody has heard of outside of probably the people that live there. But it's called Franconia Notch, New Hampshire.
I'm
Um,
looking it up.
Little bit of a background on this. I was in hiking club in high school. Um, I just enjoyed. It all started because I was in geology, and my teacher for geology. I loved this teacher so much. I had so much fun in his class, and he had two after-school programs that he ran. One was the hiking club, and one was the canoeing club. And so, because I loved this teacher so freaking much, I joined both of those things, even though I was not like that outdoor dude at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we went canoeing and hiking and everything. And one of the first places we went was a place called the Falling Waters Trail, and this was part. It was essentially a hiking trail that goes up and it loops around 3 different mountains. So you end up doing 3 different summits along this trail, and the Falling Waters side of it, you literally are climbing. You're not climbing, you're walking, but at an incline. And it's just one waterfall after another for like an hour and a half, steady 90 minutes, just one waterfall after another. And so, when I went there in high school, when I got my license, that was my go to. Like, if the first date, you have that first date go to. The Falling
Yep. That's
Waters
it.
Trail was my first date go to.
I'm looking at pictures. It's awesome. I just
Yeah.
looked up the state park, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's right there. It used to be like the Old Man in the Mountain used to be right across the road from Franconia Notch, and of course that has disintegrated and fallen into rubble now. But when I was a kid and started hiking these mountains, there are 48 different mountains in New Hampshire that are 4,000 feet or higher in elevation. It's called the 48 Club, and I wanted so much to be part of that 48 Club because, like, on my third 4,000-foot mountain, there was a guy there that was doing his last mountain for the 48 Club, and so he had like press following him up the trail and all of this, and I was like, man, I want to do that someday. I ended up doing 22 of them, Katie, before I moved here.
Dang.
Yeah,
Dang.
still not bad, right?
I couldn't do it.
So Franconia Notch, New Hampshire is my number one. What is number one for Katie Lynn?
Mine, I'm a little Cali girl. But man, I'll never forget going to Malibu. I love it. So and like God, what's that? Oh my God, Jeffree Star used to live there, and Kim K, and what's that freaking
Santa Monica?
No, it's
Colby, where
over.
are you, bro? You're the California expert.
It's close to Malibu because I was going to Malibu and we were going
Beverly
through like the
Hills?
whole. No,
Hmm.
it was like rich houses in the middle of like hills
Burbank?
and
No,
trees.
Burbank is near like somewhere else. I don't know.
No, Burbank is. I don't remember either. Anyway, Malibu is gorgeous, and especially on the way there, we were in LA. So LA to Malibu, we were just driving. Once you get out of the city, same shit as New York, but it was just a whole nother level. Like you see all these mountains and all these trees, and then the ocean right behind it. And then we got to the ocean, and man, the sand and the water, it was just awesome. It was a crappy time of year. It was pretty cold, but I don't remember. It was probably like late September. It was close
It's
to my
not
birthday, probably,
Naples,
but
is it? Naples? I thought Naples was in Florida. We're talking Cali here. I've never been to California.
really.
Yeah, I've never been that far west. As far west as I've been is Phoenix, Arizona, which, by the way, would never make this list. The wine place in Cali. Oh, okay. Oh, you're talking about Napa Valley, Fubar, I think. Fubar said, of the top 5 cartoons, I am with Katie that Adventure Time is one of the best cartoons ever made. Because not only is it hilarious for adults, but it's also funny for kids. Very much true. I would like to go to New Haven just to get pizza. Well, we are talking about places that we have not visited. I think we did do a top 5 places that we would like to visit recently.
I
Um,
think so.
yeah, I don't think New Haven would ever make that list, to be fair. But that is our top 5 places that we have visited. If you are listening out there, where is your top 5 favorite places that you have been? It was very difficult for me not to put my wife on this list.
Shut up.
Oh, man.
Calabasas.